Thank you, Ambassador Gore. And we welcome to the stage Mr. Jeff Shockey, Executive Vice President of the Boeing Corporation.
All right, so let's jump right in. I know you've got some time pressure, Ambassador. You mentioned embassies competing. I know you set the bar high for Congressman Bratt as he gets ready to go down to Australia, but you set the bar incredibly high with your A250 celebration in Delhi with Secretary Rubio. You had the president call in on the line. You somehow found a way to get the village people there. So you did set the bar really high, and I think you're going to be the envy of all your fellow ambassadors around the world for taking that bar to the really next level, celebrating America's semi-quincentennial. So well done there. You've had 6 months under your belt. You have a direct line to President Trump. So with that in mind, let me start with a couple questions. India is one of the fastest growing major economies in the world with a population of roughly 1.5 billion people. How do you think about India's trajectory today, and what does it mean for the US-India reliance through the administration and well beyond the Trump administration?
Well, first I want to thank Jeff and Salil and all of our other sponsors that stepped in and helped make that celebration possible. And so I know some of you are in the room, IBM, Micron, Google. You care about this relationship, and we appreciate it, you stepping in and helping us. You know, when I first called Jeff, I am a competitive person. I first called Jeff, and I said, you got to help us with our sponsorship. And he said, well, we have an amount that we're giving to 5 or 6 select embassies around the world. I said, that's great, but we got to have more than that. I said, I don't care if it's $1 more, but I got to have more than London. I got to have more than the other embassies. And so to his credit, he delivered. So thank you for that. You care about this relationship. We care about Boeing, frankly. As you know, that the president in every meeting, and this has nothing to do, by the way, with their donation, but in every meeting for the last 2 years, and I've been in a lot of them at the White House, when foreign leaders show up and meet with the president, Boeing is usually on the agenda because we care about Boeing. We care about taking you to the next level and making sure that these countries are buying the best and the most efficient planes in the sky. And so I can tell you, we've not spoken in a week, but it again came up with the Prime Minister because we're this close to getting another big deal done with India, and we're looking forward to bringing that across the finish line. Look, to answer your question, it's the limitless potential. The United States wants to work hand in hand with India. India's rise is here. India has arrived. We recognize that. We want to partner with India. I was with a minister in New Delhi a couple of weeks ago, and he said to me, he said, no matter what you hear in the news, 50 years from now, our two countries will still be friends. You're the world's oldest democracy, we're the world's largest democracy. And the second part that he added to that is, we have the same principles when it comes to democracy, which include robust oppositions, by the way. Not every nation has that. India's in a tough part of the world. There are some tough and rough neighbors. And you have individuals that wake up in a bad mood and things change in that part of the world. The United States and India have so much in common that is something that will sustain us for decades to come. With that said, we do see the opportunity that exists between our two nations. And as I mentioned, you pick the sector, AI, technology, aviation, no matter what it is, we have a potential to work together. And that's something I hope to build upon and set the stage for the next few decades. These next 2 years will set the relationship on a path for several decades ahead. And so for everyone here who participates in this, think of this as a long-term project. This is not a 1 year or 2 year, but what we sow now will continue to sustain us decades ahead.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, so let's shift gears a little bit, Ambassador Gore. You know the president very well. You obviously know how to get things done within this administration. How does it help you move the U.S. relationship forward, especially when it comes to cutting through bureaucracy, red tape, bureaucratic friction in the U.S. to make progress over the last 6 months, the next 6 months, and then the balance of your term?
I think the circumstances that place me in this position, in this chair, are very unique. And in my first year at the White House, when I was Director of Presidential Personnel, When a new president comes into office, there's 4,000 positions open. And it was that role that the president entrusted me with to fill those positions. And so today, when an issue does come up, I don't have to call 20 levels down. And there's no long process, because almost every secretary that we have in our cabinet is a friend of mine. I talk to Secretary Rubio sometimes 3 times a day. And you name the secretary, whether it's Scott Besson or Jameson Greer or any of those, I consider them friends, and they are friends. Some of them I've known for years before. So it's extremely efficient to be able to take that, to pick up the phone, and somebody on the other end answers. I'll give you an example. We had a group of American pharmaceuticals companies and Indian pharmaceutical companies, and had some issues, and they just had things that were getting stuck, and have been stuck that way for several years. And as they're in my office, I was able to call Secretary Kennedy, and within a week, he arranged a video call where he involved 4 or 5 other people, including the heads of CDC, FDA, all these other entities that are involved in this. And so we do cut through red tape. And in a way, it's very similar to the way the president works. And also, by the way, the prime minister. I've seen the prime minister in action. Both of them are results-oriented. So if it takes somebody picking up a phone and calling directly, that's something that we'll do, and that oftentimes achieves a much faster result.
Awesome. Hey, in addition to knowing the president well, you also know how the inner workings of the White House churn. You've already served as special envoy across 11 countries, 3 of which, I might add, have become larger Boeing customers since you took the role. Thank you. Now you're focused on one of the most important relationships in the world, US-India. Tell us what you're most focused on delivering next. You mentioned the trade agreement, but what comes after that?
So to your point, as special envoy, we've done some incredible things. I want to mention specifically Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. I've visited all those countries, but in the last 9 months, both Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan have signed with the United States real deals, real tangible results, with each country signing over $20 billion in trade from the United States. It's Boeing, it's locomotives, it's Wabtec, it's Franklin Templeton. There's some incredible wins. Because this president, again, this is not me. This is this president paying attention to a region. In the White House's entire history, it was President Trump that organized a C5+1 summit and invited these 5 heads of state. And it's something we're going to continue doing. And it's President Trump, for example. We have the G20 coming up this December. President Trump invited the heads of Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan to the G20. That has never happened before. Within 24 hours of those invites going out, we had 60 other countries around the world calling the White House asking for an invite. And so the fact that the president is paying attention to this is delivering real results. What I see next, look, the trade deal is a massive thing. It's something we have to get across the finish line. And we honestly had the deal. The deal was done. Things have to change, and the reason things have to change is because the offset previously was based on IEPA. Now the offset is going to be based on something else. And so the trade deal is in place. Most of the items that we had agreed upon are there. Both sides continue to honor that. And it's just, but that one last percent, I'm telling you, we're going to have a big party that Mukesh is going to throw when this trade deal is in place. And I hope all of you will be here as we celebrate that.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, you also mentioned the importance of the Quad relationship. As you think about areas like space and cyber and AI, which are moving really quickly, where do you see the biggest opportunities for US, India, and other Quad members to work together in a way to strengthen our shared security objectives?
Look, I mean, the Quad is extremely important. And I just want to mention something, because a lot of individuals made hay over a name change. I don't care what name is on a letterhead, but look at what actually the United States is doing. And so, yes, the name changed. We're still there. India still has more exercises with the United States than any other country by far. Every single month, there's something happening, whether it's Indian troops coming here, whether it's US troops going into the region. Just this morning, I got another dip note on the next delegation from the Indian Navy that will be traveling here over the next, I believe, in the next 2 weeks. In terms of what we're doing with the Quad, we are very much focused on the maritime security. One of the deliverables that was announced in New Delhi was that the 4 countries will focus on building ports in the region. And that includes Fiji specifically. And so we want to make sure that we're present in the Pacific, we're growing, we're enhancing our security, and we're working with trusted partners. And India is on that list, very high on that list, I might say. And it's one of those things we'll keep building upon. It's one of the reasons the Secretary wants to have this meeting in the Philippines in 2 weeks, followed by a meeting in Australia, and followed ultimately by a leaders meeting, which we're trying to nail down that would include President Trump coming to India.
Great, great. Hey, let's shift gears just a little bit again. I've seen firsthand how you've supported the Boeing company, not just on the commercial side, but also on the defense side. Can you talk a little bit about your kind of results-oriented goal as you support not just companies like Boeing, but some of the others in the room, RTX, ExxonMobil, FedEx, and the important role they play in the U.S.-India relationship?
Absolutely. I mean, some of the biggest companies in the world, right, are sitting right here. Raj from FedEx, Boeing, of course. There's incredible companies in this room and beyond, and they all touch India. And for us, we are results driven. It's one of the things I try to push across to my team every single week. Look, I'm not in Delhi for a long time. As you know, we're halfway through our administration, but I'm going to make my time there count. And it's one of those things we're going to do our best. We're going to deliver for the United States, but we're also going to identify those win-win situations. I have seen firsthand during the energy crisis, I'll give you an example. We had a company that came in without an appointment, and they said, we're trying to sell more energy to India from the United States. I said, how long are you in India for? They said, 48 hours. I said, okay. I said, that doesn't make it easy. I picked up the phone and called a handful of individuals. The next day, they had a meeting in New Delhi. Within 30 days, they had signed contracts for new energy exports to India. And that's an incredible, thank you. The reason I share that story is because if you don't knock, if you don't ask, nothing happens. And so I want to make sure everybody in this room also understands this. If we can help you in any way to get something across the finish line, sometimes things get caught in bureaucracy, as you know, on both sides.
Yep.
If we can somehow jump that and bring it to the right person's attention, please call on us. You will find an open embassy and a very receptive embassy to you. That's something that I've been trying to get across, and I think we've been very successful at that. We're increasing both our economics team at the embassy, our foreign commercial services at the embassy. So we'll continue building on that, and please call upon us if we can help.
Well, I'd say on behalf of everyone in the audience, just a big thank you for the support we get out of the administration all the way up to the president himself, members of the cabinet, folks out on the front lines, the Ambassador Corps like yourself. It's been a phenomenal.
And I'll share this with you. There's no deal that is too small. I've literally called the president sometimes in the evenings on something that is, I'm embarrassed to even say the amount. But if it creates a job here in the United States and we're able to sell this across, the president will pick up the phone and call on that company's behalf. And that's something that's extremely proactive that we've never seen on either side of any political party. The president will pick up the phone and call on companies' behalf. And so that's an ask I'm willing to make of him. He enjoys doing it, frankly, because he comes from the business community. And so, as you know, I think I've shared this story with you. A couple of months ago, I was with the president at UFC in Miami. And we're sitting backstage. And he said to me, let's call the prime minister. And I said, sir, it's 6 a.m. in the morning there. He said, he'll be up. He's like me. He doesn't sleep. And so by the time we were able to get a hold of the prime minister, I think I reached out to Vinay and some others in Delhi. The president was already on stage. He got announced, so we scheduled the call for the next day. But the message there, the louder message of that story is when you're friends with somebody, not everything has to be scheduled. And the president truly considers the prime minister a friend. And when you're friends with somebody, you pick up the phone, you say, how are you doing? Not everything has to be scheduled 6 weeks in advance at 2 p.m., in the afternoon. And that is how he sees India. By the way, that's not what every leader in the world. I've seen leaders that we do schedule things because he does not consider them at the same level that he considers the prime minister. But his years with the prime minister go back to his first term, to his warm memories of India. And so that's an incredible benefit, frankly, to our embassy there.
Well, I would say in addition to calling heads of state at interesting times, he also calls some CEOs at interesting times.
He called both Boeing. He called the CEO of Boeing that same night, if you recall.
I do.
From the backstage of UFC.
Yeah. Hey, we're running short on time, but I want to just, first of all, thank you. But also, what are you doing? What are you doing for the America's 250th this week?
So I'll be traveling some with the president. He's going to be visiting some places earlier in the week, and then on the 4th, we have an incredible celebration here on the mall. So I hope everybody here is here for the week and is able to see that. There's going to be an absolutely spectacular flyover of things that you might have never seen before. So I highly encourage that. Also, the president will be giving a speech. There'll be several performances right here in the National Mall. So come one, come all, and bring all your friends.
All right. Awesome. Have a great week. Thank you for being here. And thanks for what you're doing for all of us in India.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Well done.
Great job.
Yeah.